So what we're going to do is I'm just going to state the ground rules for those who don't know. So welcome to the monthly catch-up. It's the month of September. We are recording this. I will get rid of everything pre this briefing. First thing we do is we're going to talk about who we are. So most of the people in this room so far have already introduced themselves. The only people I can see who haven't are Horst and Greg. Everybody else, I'm pretty sure we have gone to them. If not, I apologize. So what we'll do first is I'd just like to hear from you guys and just tell us about your background. What got you into computing and retro computing, where you came from, and what are you doing now? So with that being said, Horst, would you like to take us off?
Okay. Hi, I'm Horst. I think I got into retro computing entirely by accident. We sort of had the Apple IIe in the kindergarten classroom, and a few folks were surprised when I actually got it to boot into be all right, because you know it's a toy for the kids to be bashing away on. And a lot of the stuff I'm dealing with are computers that were still quite respectable during my childhood. And I sort of then accidentally drifted back from there. I was not alive when that 2SI was released. I just wasn't. And for a while, I was part of the Mac vintage scene. I was active on the 68K MLA, and I sort of fell out of it for a little while and just had a bunch of projects I had no time for. Getting back into it now, I have some projects. I still want the dual auto inject LC2. Just why not at this point? And what I do outside of this is general IT work for anyone who'll pay, and photography. And I also repair cameras.
Oh, cool.
So I'm sort of just getting back into this now, and hoping that I haven't forgotten absolutely everything about SCSI termination.
What's all the stuff behind you?
That's
off camera.
C64. Sorry, hang on a minute. I have a C64C, 2 netbooks, a Toshiba satellite, an Xbox One that needs a HDMI port replacement, the shell of Mac 2SI, which I'm still planning to shove a highly regulated power supply and like a Raspberry Pi or similar into, and a bunch of books. So I'm currently looking through is the EF lens work from when Canon switched over to the EOS system. And over there is just a metric crap ton of books. Some of them are computing and engineering textbooks, and some of them are biology and pharmacology textbooks. My partner studied pharmacology, so sort of blended the library a little bit.
Cool. What's your favorite camera?
Toss up. I'm a big fan of the Canon P. It's a better Leica than Leica ever made.
Yep.
And it's the lens I typically use it with. It's the 5cm f1.5 Zeiss Sonar.
Okay.
Tattooed onto my wrist. Someone will dig me up and be like, what's this weeb doing? Or there's the Bronica ETRS, which is in my car at the moment. Just nice, reliable, medium format, pretty bulletproof. Very, very easy to abuse, takes excellent photos. What's not to love?
I'll show my age here. My two favourite cameras, which are still used until I switched to digital, is Pentax K1000.
Lovely, lovely.
The fully manual. They market it to high schools. That's it. Yeah.
That's a Spotmatic, but
Everyone's got one, yeah. And after I stopped using that and wanted to go automatic, I got a Canon AE1, which I've still got. And I know you've got more fancier cameras than those, but as 35mm entry level cameras, the Pentax and the Canon, pretty fantastic.
My first DSLR was a Pentax because I'd already used so many Pentax film cameras. I found them basically indestructible. Like at the end of the day, it's getting the image right, not being fancy.
Oh, cool. So where do you find computer stuff in Tempe?
I'm not in Tempe anymore. I'm in Wentworth Falls. There was a Salvos in Tempe, which occasionally had some interesting stuff, but mainly like Pentium 3, Pentium 4 era laptops. There, other than that, it was sort of wandering around Sydney and finding folks who were getting rid of things. Just wanted them to go to a good home, and I'd try and clean them up. Up here, I haven't found anything great just yet, but I did go to the Green Shed when I was in Canberra a few weeks back.
Yeah.
And this was when they still had, like, I don't know what that machine was, but it had the 2 vertical 8-inch floppy drives. And I was like, I sincerely hope someone here knows what to do with that, because I don't. But I managed to pick up a few old laptops there.
I've heard a lot about this Green Shed on the Facebook group, but what is it? Is it just like a secondhand store?
It's the Green Shed I went to is a combination of a, what do you call it? Waste reclamation facility, I guess you'd say. So like you take in things to the tip or for sorting and recycling, but they also have like a shop where they have furniture and TVs and toasters and really badly abused keyboards and whatever the hell else you want. They had some slide projectors there, which I would have gone for if I had the space to set up a slide night.
Would it be fair to call it a tip shop?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I think so, yeah.
Relationship with those things, they seem to make up their own rules, you know, depending on who happens to be on each day. So
yeah.
Yep. That's pretty much what happens.
Okay. Very good. Well, welcome. Now, the next person, Greg, would you mind introducing yourself, or have I already introduced yourself last time? I'm not sure.
No, this is the first time, Anthony. Yeah, look, I'm Greg. I've been sort of exposed to everything from growing up from Intellivisions to VIC-20, then Commodore 64, and then moved from Commodore 64 through to Amiga for a good few years with varying models of 500s that my father started out with sort of late 80s, early 90s, and then transitioned to the PC basically due to sort of high school, and then from then on started doing backyard repair work for people and varying businesses around where I work. Finished high school and then picked up a job at the local university doing desktop support, and 23 years on, still there at the university. Job's changed a bit, but still doing things. Still do a bit of backyard work and that. Look, you know, I've delved into the emulator scene and that a lot due to sort of lack of space and bits and pieces, but wanted to get my hands on some real hardware again. And recently, thanks to Nigel Rhodes up in Queensland, got myself quite a nice looking Amiga 500. So fitted the GoTech and sort of relearning again and re-customizing myself with, you know, all the stuff that I used to know about the Amiga and how to drive it and everything else, and potentially got an Amiga 600 on its way, but COVID's kind of closed the barriers. It's sitting in South Australia in someone's shed at the moment, and it's not sort of easy to get it here. But friends just said to me one day, they just said, "Oh, do you still play with Amiga stuff?" And yeah. Do you want an Amiga 600 and screen and everything else? And yeah, I said, how much do you want for it? And they just go, it's yours.
Oh, cool.
So I don't know exactly what state it's in, but I've already put out the feelers for recapping and that sort of stuff. But also got mainly in the lounge room, we've got a Retro Pi set up, you know, Raspberry Pi running Retro Pi, which, you know, I'm sort of enjoying giving the kids a taste of, whilst I can't get all the original consoles and that, of, you know, stuff that I used to play and tinker with and, you know, relearn. And I still do a lot of, you know, backyard PC repairs through, you know, people at work looking for someone that's, you know, not a computer shop, who's a bit cheaper and that sort of thing. And yeah, I've got some plans maybe to delve into sort of, you know, restoring or building up a MAME cabinet or something like that. It kind of depends on negotiating with the wife and how much I can fit into one space, really.
Cool.
So that's about me in a nutshell.
No worries, Greg. So how much space do you have?
Well, I've got a train set that's about 12 foot by 8 foot wide, and I managed to negotiate an actual room for that. It used to be in a garage, so that occupies a lot of it. But the Amigas, I've got a desk over in the corner of that room, and the space for the Amiga 500 permanently, properly all set up, along with what's sitting beside that, a HP Elite 8000, which runs as a DLNA server. Beside that's a Z200 workstation, which controls the train set. So that's all sort of tucked away in the train room with my Doctor Who memorabilia. Big fan of classic Doctor Who as well.
Oh, cool.
And then there's other computers and laptops and bits and pieces of tech of varying ages sort of dotted around the house, from old Toshiba R600 laptops or a Toshiba Portage, which I'm staring at the moment, right up to some of the newer HP stuff. We just, with working with the university, get to work with the vendors, luckily, like HP and Toshiba and that, and sort of keep abreast of everything. And, also got a few contacts in there that are sort of, into the, the vintage computer scene. We had here till recently, anyone know the Smythesdale Computer Museum that used to be operational?
I know of it, and I think most of us bought stuff.
Yeah, I tried. But some of the prices and that. But
were you there, Greg?
No, I had a friend go down and he proxy bid on my behalf. I gave him I looked in advance and sort of said, okay, here's what I'm prepared to go up to. And but he said, the bidding was just absolutely insane.
Especially if you're after that shareware version of Wolfenstein 3D or whatever it was, it went for nearly $3,000.
Yeah, it was incredible. I actually got in touch with the auction house because I looked at the photos when they went online, and then there was an Amiga 1200 in one photo which they'd called something else, but the power supply was in a lot in another. And I asked them, I said, what's the chances in making that a complete lot? And possibly if I hadn't have done that, someone else would have missed out. But no, my friend who was down there, he's got a huge setup he's got like a secondary house on his block, and he's just got the whole room or house is just dedicated. The longer you stand there and stare is retro consoles, retro, He-Man figurines, all that era sort of toys, trinkets.
Oh, cool.
So sort of, bounce things off him sometimes and borrow a few bits and pieces. And, I've still got a lot of my toys from, childhood, but, look, space is a little bit of an issue.
Oh, very good. Well, nice to meet you, Greg. Now, we've got a couple of new people who've jumped in the group. Now, would Rick or David be interested in introducing themselves? What we're doing is the people who have just come to this group for the first time, we're just getting a feel for their background, where they've come from computing, and what they're doing in retro computing today. So, Rick, would you be interested in sharing?
Yeah, certainly. Into my first couple of minutes into this Zoom meeting. Unfortunately, I don't have much retro equipment, etc. But I did start with Apple IIes back in their heyday as such. We didn't specifically have an Apple IIe ourselves. We had a Dick Smith cat computer, which was a clone of it. But after that, I pretty much went on to PC world, and then back in about 2012, I went back to Apple as such, using their Macs and everything like that. So, I also enjoyed those 80s arcade games and stuff like that, as I heard the name MAME mentioned. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't have any old equipment myself.
Oh, no worries. There's plenty of us who have plenty for you. So,
okay.
David, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm David.
Hi, David.
I think I may have met a couple of people before at a meetup somewhere, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm mostly interested in Sinclair stuff.
Oh, cool.
I sort of keep a blog called ZX81 Keyboard Adventure, where I sort of document, whatever it is that I do. It's not, I don't build the world's most amazing things. I write the occasional ZX81 games and Spectrum games, and sometimes they come out on tape. So it's good. I've got a bit of a couple of ZX81s. I've got a Spectrum Next and all that sort of stuff. Try and collect mostly portable kind of, small portable computers now. I find a bit more interesting. So like the Atari portfolios and your TRS-80, Model 100s and 102s and things of that size. Otherwise, it just gets ridiculous. I think I started thinking about, I'll collect all this stuff, and then I thought, no, I can't do that. There's madness and too much space, and I have to buy a garage that's off-site. So I sort of gave up on that pretty quickly. I do all sorts of odd little projects, like like that Commodore Mini thing that was from like this little thing.
Oh, cool.
Fun. Yeah. So just sort of keep busy that way. We're making the odd peripheral and sort of sell keyboards for the ZX81 and things like that. So yeah.
So David, why ZX81? Is that something you started with when you were a kid?
It was the very first computer Dad brought home.
Oh, right.
So it was, would have been 80, or would have been 1981. Yeah, and he brought that home, and we all got into that pretty quickly, and that's all we had for a couple of years until we got a Micro B. So we with them later on, Micro B 128 with the dual disk drives and all that sort of stuff, which was like the second home computer. But we had so that was downstairs, and the ZX81 made its way up into my bedroom. So I had that until my dad got a PC, and then I had the Micro B, and then he got another PC, and I got the PC. So but so I found the 81 was a bit limiting at the time, but now it's kind of a lot more interesting because it is so limiting. So there's a lot more things you can kind of do with it. So so I kind of still like it just for that. Just actually because it is limiting. It's like, but then you realize that hey, hang on, it's not that limiting at all. It's just if you compare it directly with something from the time, it's okay. It looks a bit limiting, but if you compare it with something from 10 years later, it's pretty limiting. But the things around it are still just as limiting. So there's no reason why you can't put one on the internet. There's no reason why you can't, write some pretty good games on it.
Yeah, I think that's actually some of the appeal for some of that stuff is actually to try to push those boundaries and see what you can do with something that someone thinks is garbage, but really can deliver some pretty exciting results.
Yeah, exactly. Especially actually oddly in the games department too. And some people are really sort of writing games to that at the moment. And it's kind of like, well, actually, okay, they're a bit blocky or whatever, but I mean, the gameplay itself and all that sort of thing is still pretty impressive. So yeah, so keep going with that.
Awesome.
For a while. Yeah.
Now, is there any other people who haven't introduced themselves that would like to do so now? Otherwise, we will go on to what we've been doing in the last 30 days. Anyone want to introduce themselves? Doesn't look like it, because I think that we've got everyone covered. All right. So I'm going to take volunteers. Who wants to tell me what they've been doing for the last 30 days? Retro computing wise. Not what you've been doing at work. What have you been doing with your retro computers in the last month?
My name's Ian Maverick, and I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Ian.
Which doesn't go down well with being in lockdown. But no, I've been trying to cut deals for picking up things for when we can finally get out and about and drive again. So last week, good friend Anthony there hooked me up with a bootload of not so vintage PC boxes and 5 CRT VGA monitors. So I'm sort of
and a truckload of keyboards
and some keyboards. Yeah, so got some fun stuff coming from. Got to pick up there. Also got David Modimer out in Horsham has a well, it was about 1 carload's worth of stuff, but actually it's been growing, so it's probably now 2 trips in my car there and back to pick up of stuff, and which is good because you know I'm in it for the money, as you know, only in it for the money, but I was looking at my shelves where I store all my stuff, and I thought, well, fuck me, where am I going to put all this stuff now? So in the last week, I've sort of been getting all the boxes off the shelf and deciding, right, is this going to be stripped out and sold as parts, or is this one going to be, you know, reformatted and set up and sold as a complete computer box? And so I've been mainly doing that, and I found some interesting stuff. I mean, not as interesting as from the 8-bit era, but yesterday I pulled down a machine that was rather unassuming looking. It had a Pentium 2 sticker on the front, and when I opened it up, it was a Pentium 2 233 megahertz, which I think makes it the lowest, earliest incarnation of the Pentium 2.
There was.
It actually runs really well. It's almost a shame. I think in this instance, I'm not going to tear it apart. I'm just going to put a hard drive in, a new Windows, maybe 95, maybe Windows 2000 on it or something, and sell it as it is, because it actually runs pretty well, and the look of the machine hasn't done a lot of mileage. A lot of the stuff I've got is pretty beaten up, so that gets stripped for parts and then sold. So that was kind of fun finding that. Another one that I picked, that I got off the shelf, that I've started to look at, I found this card in it, which is a strange card.
No,
SCSI card.
Well, yeah, it's actually, I had to do a bit of research because I'd never seen one of these either, and it's an Iomega Buzz controller card, which has both SCSI and video capture on a PCI card for an early version of basically video capture technology. The downside is the card's not worth anything because it connects to a Hoogajoo.
Yes, I used to have one actually. We made some videos back in the day using that. We got really excited the fact that, you know, oh wow, that's a cheap video solution that we can all use, and we made one, and then they dropped support for it after about 6 months. It wasn't a very long-lived thing.
Yeah, it didn't get any traction, so it was. So I'm trying to work out if it's usable as a SCSI controller, ignoring the video capture side of things, or if it's just junk, because I'm not seeing any boot. I'm not seeing any boot prom on it, but I'll put it in a machine and see what it does. So I've been doing that, and another thing I've been doing is I get some really horrible looking computers. I mean, you can't believe what you find at some of these recycle places that do let you in, and things that have been owned by chain smokers or have been out in the sun or had rain on them, but not enough rain to get into the insides of the computer. So the component parts of the computer work, but rust and other things on the cases. And normally I'd just sort of throw the cases out, but it's kind of weird. Every so often someone would contact me and say, I'm after a really shitty looking case. It's got to look shit. And I'm like, yeah, you've come to the right place. I've got a few of them around. And I ask them, you know, what do you need a shitty looking case for? And they sort of say, well, we've been having some problems with robberies or, you know, people stealing our stuff. And so what we want to do is we want to put our security camera computer into the shittest looking computer that no one would possibly touch or steal. So it continues to record them while they take the other stuff, and then and they leave that computer behind. And then the idea, I suppose, is that then they can turn over the video footage to the authorities and hopefully get a resolution there. But
well, that's a good tip for when I go to do that.
Yeah. and so it's kind of weird when people or other people are like, I'm after an old case of this description, and I don't care what it looks like because I'm going to retrobrite the plastic and respray the cover, and they all they really care about is that it looks like the one they used as a teenager or as a kid. So I've actually stopped throwing away cases willy-nilly, and I'm sort of going to start putting these ugly ones up available for purchase as fugly cases. They'll still have a good power supply in them, but that's been a bit of fun doing that side of things. So
that's my push bike strategy. My good bikes all got stolen, and then I just found a hard rubbish bike, and it hasn't been stolen.
Yeah, there's some method to it. I know. So yeah, I've got to clear up space for some between 40 and 50 PC boxes that are coming after the lockdown is lifted and I'm allowed to move around the state again. So now's as good a time as any. It's not quite as cold working out in my workshop areas at the moment. So yeah, that's basically what I've been doing.
Cool. Stuart's next.
Right, hi guys. I'll just switch to my other camera for a second and I'll show you what I've been playing with. Hopefully it doesn't crash out. All right. So this is I just got this recently. It's a single board computer. It's got a Motorola 6800 CPU in it. Essentially, you can just program it from the key panel and a bit of I/O and stuff here. The little brother of this one is, and these all came in only just in the last week, is this device that's actually in a cardboard box. So there's the circuit board inside, and then you close it up, and again you can program this. So it's got a monitor inside that allows you to program in an assembly language. So essentially what you do is put in your code, examine the code, etc. One of the other things I've been doing is I've been mucking around with a bit of programming for the Atari 2600. So I made a little, I pulled a cartridge apart and I put like a ZIF socket on there and an EEPROM, and I've been using, if any of you guys know Stellar, the software packages allows you to do that. I've never actually done any 6502 or in this case 6507 programming before. So
what's the game look like? The
game that I'm not that good yet. So just let me move some stuff. Sorry.
Have you been able to get it to do anything?
Well, I haven't. I've got it to put some stuff on the screen, but what I wanted to show you too is this is a logic analyzer I recently bought. So here's one of the probes, and then these little clips you can put on, and it's got 32 channels, and hopefully this will focus. But to give you an idea, right? So there's my hand. So it's only got a little 3-inch screen. This is actually Sony Tektronix. And there's all your inputs. Plus, what's handy is it actually has a composite video output, so you can run on a larger screen. And to go with my sort of obsession with 8-bit stuff, is it runs a Z80. So this is Z80 based, which is pretty cool. So that one just came in. So it's a 30 megahertz device. So 30 megahertz is going to be fast enough to do what I need to do. One of the other things that I've been mucking around with for some of you guys know, I've got a IMSI 8080 S100 computer. This is just a board I'm making up with an EEPROM on it because toggling the switches and putting a program in and then turning it off and then the next day it's all gone gets a bit tiring. So I want to have the ability to save something, and also obviously writing to an EEPROM, erasing it with UV eraser and so forth is also a bit tiring if you're obviously get bugs and stuff in your code. So that's about all I've been playing with this month, which is a few things. But yeah, ultimately, I'm just very interested in writing code for pretty much all of the 8-bit micros. So assembly language. So even if it's the most basic thing to make a light that go on off or play a sound or write something on the screen, I just want to write some assembly language in all of the 8-bit micros. So obviously the Atari 2600 is one of them, and the Z80 I've done before, which I learned at RMIT and bits and pieces like that. So I'm just more into, like, you know, either fixing something that doesn't work. I got myself a ZX81. I wrote the other chap's name down because I need a keyboard. Mine's broken. So come in handy. It's David.
They look like this. They're pretty good.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Well, real keyboard. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I sell basically the circuit board, and then the cases are on shapeways. But
Okay. Very nice. All right. Well, that's about me for the moment.
Cool.
You guys need to into the syntax party, demo party stuff if you're actually programming ZX81s and weird old 8-bits. That's the whole point, is just to get something to work on the weirdest, oldest computer you can find and get some cool little message on the screen or whatever. I'll put a link in the chat. Probably won't do a physical one this year, but just keep an eye on it for next year.
David, would you like to tell us what you've been doing?
me?
David, your microphone is off, David.
How does that sound now?
Much better.
That's better. Okay. I've had a busy month actually. Ian, had I known you'd needed some stuff from David up in Horsham, I was up at his place on Tuesday. So, because I was working in the area, and David was good enough to fix up 2 of my Wombats. And one of them is interesting. It's actually got an inbuilt Z80, so it'll run CPM natively, as well as all the Apple II stuff as well. And a couple of my 2Es as well. Had a toast rack arrive last weekend. So I've been working on that. That's in a bit of a sorry state, but it's working, so that's a good sign. A 130XE. That one we talked about a month ago, I think it was.
Is it
Finally,
the one from Australia?
yeah, that's the one.
How, did they package it properly?
I sent a message saying, could you very pretty please package it heaps, and they actually did a good job, I've got to say. And that's a runner, so that's nice. And a few of us are going to do there's an MSX that's on the way as well. But a few of us are going to do a recreation of a ZX80. Cases and PCBs are being made at the moment, and components are on the way. And David, I think I might need to talk to you about keyboards as well. You might be getting some business out of this, my friend.
Happy to help.
Yeah, 80 with a clear case and a full travel keyboard would be nice.
Oh yeah, I'm going to build 2 of them. One to so I don't actually have to use my original ZX80 too much, because they're getting a bit fragile now, and another one just to go full stupid on and mod it up the wazoo and basically have fun with it. So
I was going to buy one off eBay the other day, but it had no case, and I thought I've got to have the white case, so maybe I should have bought it.
well, they're going for stupid money at the moment. They really are.
That was actually my first computer, and I haven't got one yet again, which I'd like to have. I've only got the 81.
Oh, I've got the 80 boxed, which I was really happy with. So and all the manuals and everything. So I got very, very lucky with that one. So
there's some cases for on Shapeways I've noticed. It's pretty expensive though, but there are ZX80 cases out there somewhere that have been designed.
Yeah, there's quite a few on Thingiverse as well. But the only catch is the bottom case is actually quite large in relation to the upper case, and a lot of 3D printers can't quite fit the bottom case in unless you sort of put it a real sort of angle like that, and then you just go through stupid amounts of filament for supports and so on.
Actually making the halves and sand it down and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, could do that too. Yeah. So that's been me for the month. It's been good fun, actually.
Cool. Great. Well, if no one else is going to put their hand up, I'll tell you what I've been doing, which is a lot of chaos. So I got about 3 months ago, I ordered PC Junior motherboards from BG Micro. They finally arrived, and I've got now 2 working PC Juniors here. I also bought the ATX to PC Junior board, which is a fantastic little connector, so you don't have to use a step-down transformer. So you can just run it off a standard ATX power supply, which is cool. I've been doing a lot of Intellivision stuff. So as I've been a bit of I might be known for collecting lots of things. I've decided that I'm going to collect all 125 original Intellivision titles. I've only got about 60 to go, so I'm not even close. But that's been a lot of fun. I've been tidying up my shelves in my shed. I've discovered that being 44 years old, and I've been collecting for 22 years, and if you look at the amount of progress I've made on my collection in the 22 years, you're thinking, Anthony, you're going to have to be 1,200 years old before you can really go through your stuff. So I've been actually culling, because you don't actually need more than 2 or 3 spare machines. But so when you're counting in greater than 10s on some machines, it's time to move some things on. So you will see me aggressively moving some stuff in the near future, or now. I've got a few things for sale now. What else have I been doing? I've been following Alan's lead. I've done a little bit of scanning, not as much as Alan's been doing, but I'm sure Alan's going to tell us all about the stuff he's been documenting. I can see him laughing there. Yeah. Other than that, I've done a fair bit of repairing, which has been quite rewarding. I don't know if any of you guys experience this, but sometimes you go out to your area and you're like, I'm going to get that thing working, and you make it worse. Have you ever done that? You think, I got to fix it. It shows a sign of life, and then by the time you're done, it's dead. Yeah, well, fortunately, I've had very few events like that this month. I've actually brought a couple back to life. Today, I brought a 5150 back from the dead, which is really, really nice. I look forward to connecting a cassette drive to an IBM PC. Just why not? Because I've never done it. I don't know how many people actually did that, because I didn't actually put 2 and 2 together. The 5150 has that cassette interface right next to the keyboard port.
My mate's got one of those, and his ringtone is the diagnostic tape for the 5150.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes, I'll have to see if I can find a WAV file recording of that, and that leads into the next thing. And the other thing I've been wanting to do, and I'm hoping that somebody on here has the experience. I think Rob last time mentioned the SVI2 CAS, of which I contacted the gentleman, and it's not going to do what I want. What I'm looking for is a digital recorder that can store my audio tapes in a digital format, and I can then use it as a playback device to, have that stuff recorded. I just crazily bought the Atari conversational Spanish and conversational German 8-tape volume for the Atari 400 and 800, and I would love to actually digitize that and make that available, and also have a device that we can read digital WAV files instead of audio tapes that are just going to decay. So if anybody has any idea of any digital tape decks, like I was looking at these Tascam models that you can buy for, I don't know, $200, but you can get secondhand ones for $100 that can connect to your 8-bit, and you can record in WAV or MP3 or whatever format, and you can play back. Does anyone have any experience with any devices like that?
So before going down the SVI CAS route, I'd done it with like an iPod Touch.
Oh, right.
At least for playing. Unfortunately, if you get the right, I've never tried recording, but I just, converted a bunch of tape programs to WAV files, stuck them in Dropbox, and I just literally loaded up Dropbox, played it over the line. That was mostly with the Spectrum. I did have success with the Coco as well. And similar thing on, if you've got an Android device, there was a program called Tap Dancer. I don't know if it's still maintained because the only Android device I have is way out of date, and I use that as well with like the Electron. And so you basically plugging a mono jack into the headphone socket and outputting it.
I saw a device that it's like a GoTech, but it's for cassettes, and you basically
really,
yeah, but it was for a specific device. So whether it was for a Commodore 64 or something, but the end result is that outputted in an analog. So that's. I mean, do you have a problem with using a normal cassette for the IBM 5150? Like my mate uses a VZ200 or VZ300.
It's not the problem that I have is not with the tape itself. The issue is if I want to do any development on the Intellivision ECS, I'll need to save that to a tape. And I thought, what better way would be to have some digital system? So, and also I could archive all this software that I've got literally thousands of audio tapes that are commercially produced that probably haven't been archived. I'd love to actually start backing that stuff up. And so I guess to answer your question, I think
digital MP3 player with a voice recorder.
Yes, you could do that. But the issue that I'm worried about is the MP3 compression. I don't know if that's a problem.
I just record WAV.
So there's two things here. One, if you're wanting to archive, grab a Sony Walkman, like basically any of them, and one of these cheap little shits, like $7 from like your local PC store that sells you stuff that was made in China and shoved into like clamshell packaging. They say they're 7.1 channel sound. It's a lie. They are a stereo headphone microphone. Just shove the Walkman into that and use it to digitize to any laptop that can run Audacity. MP3 compression isn't going to screw with things too badly, but you can always use FLAC if you want. There's open source encoding and decoding. Yeah, I know. As for getting things back onto the computer, your best bet there is basically, as a few people have suggested, like an iPod or a phone that can just play those files, because the problem was always making sure you didn't have too much gain from your cassette deck to just overwhelm the audio input. That's really easy to dial in on a modern digital player. And the other thing I was going to suggest was you can get voice recorders, personal voice recorders that have, again, a headphone socket and a mic socket. Olympus make a few nice ones. And if you don't mind the user experience being utter dog shit, they're cheap, they're reliable, they have the quality to do the work without screwing it up.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking at. The issue was, am I just going crazy? And is there a better solution? So I was actually thinking, like, you can get these crappy Chinese 8 gig WAV file generating devices for $23. And I just thought, but they only do MP3, sorry. And I thought, oh, geez, I don't know if the MP3 compression is going to really make a big deal to 2400 baud data.
And I'd be more worried about the filtering on the input than the MP3 compression.
Yeah, okay.
Like, your limiting factor here is not going to be in the compression domain. It's going to be the quality of the signal on the input and the output.
Yeah, okay.
I'd also be inclined to make sure that it's recorded in mono rather than stereo as well.
Yeah. I was actually thinking maybe I should just grab one of these laptops and just plug it in. It's probably
and record from a laptop. Yeah, that works as well.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe, but what I did like is I love the idea of something small that you could just carry. But yeah, maybe I'm just being stupid.
Get a HP Jornada.
Something small. I'm trying to think, like a netbook.
Yeah, I've got.
Look, it's like 7 inches, like this big.
You could just about get an old Android phone with, with a TRRS connector and a decent app to actually record from. That's always a possibility.
Yeah, yeah. Do they actually record from the audio jack as well?
Yeah, you need the RRS type, which is like your 4-ring type of jack, rather than your usual 3-ring one for your headphones.
Okay.
Yeah, hang on. I'll find my headset.
Yeah, it's usually got 3 stripes on it instead of 2. So if you got one of them, you're golden.
Okay, great.
I got it. Here it is. Here it is. Hang on. It's in a different room, so I'll walk back in. Should look like that. That is.
Oh, yeah. Like you might have on an iPhone headset with a mic on it thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's it for me. I seem to have monopolized the time there. So, anyone else? What else have you been up to, guys?
All right. Well, I might as well say something now. So I made some discs the other day, which.
Discs, aren't they?
Yeah, it took like 2 hours to actually get the label right. And then print it out like on a.
Probably last longer than Microsoft discs as well, because they use crappy discs back in the day. My experience with the Windows 95 upgrade on floppy.
Oh boy!
Which actually wasn't as a big a deal breaker as you'd think. It was only actually 15. It's only 15 discs. Yeah, that one. It's 15 discs, and at the speed of 486 runs at, you get through them pretty quickly. But I found that you could only install them on 1 or 2 computers before the media started cracking up and giving read errors. So maybe that was just very clever marketing on Microsoft's part to prevent
copying.
But most of the discs they came on, like what was the Office we used to use, Anthony? Was it Office 4.3?
Yeah, that was 30.
Yeah.
Yeah, that came on about 30 or 35 discs. And if you were installing Office and then disk 30 crashed.
Start again.
Yeah, well, you've only got an option of try again. You can't back out and pick up where you left off. After you've bought another disc.
Go find another disc from someone else and recut that.
Yeah. Hey, question for Rob Caporetto.
Yo. Yeah.
I'm trying to determine how quickly Ozpost is moving across Melbourne. So did you get your...
I haven't got it yet. Let me check. Let me check tracking right now.
I fucking sent it Monday. Rob lives... If I was to drive, I could drive to Rob's place in 25 minutes.
Yeah. So where are we? Let me just bring purchases up.
It's probably gone to Sydney or Adelaide.
Probably sitting in the West Sunshine Distribution.
So right now, it's saying as of yesterday, 4 a.m., processed through Australia Post facility. Unfortunately, that's looking through the eBay app, so it doesn't say where it is.
Pull up on the website.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring it up on.
Oddly enough, someone sent me a letter. I will shout to Kendall if he's here. That's his. It's even readable. He said that last week. I got it like on Friday, and that's just a standard letter.
You know what's funny or sad at the same time, Rob, is I've been selling a few things to S. Mullins, and he's been getting them in reasonable time frames, even though he lives
a week and a half. I get them in a week and a half.
Yeah, that's pretty reasonable.
It's about 10 days. I just checked.
Yeah, so that last event from yesterday at 4 a.m. says Melbourne. So
I do like that. The only thing I like about the Ozpost at the moment is the tracking. In that the fuckers say, that I've posted it on this day, so no one can say, when are you going to send my stuff, Mav?
Yeah.
It's sent, and it's all Ozposts.
It's like, here, I've posted it. Here's the tracking number. Good luck.
In 2019, from Canley to to Mill Park or Carnley to Narry Warren was next day, but
yeah, it would have been like 2 or 3 days. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I may as well go next. So
I appreciate this.
Oh, do you want to? Oh, go ahead. I just.
Yes. Because the other thing I just started working on. This is why Kendall had sent me something. So it is actually the MSX mouse from Yamaha, which is probably like the only one that seems to exist these days. Except it has a common problem where the X doesn't work properly.
Ooh.
So I've actually kind of been getting into it a bit. And Kendall's suggestion is, his last suggestion was to actually put a resistor across the photodiodes down here and see if that fixes the problem. Because what's happening is when you spin the wheel, there's a comparator there, and the outputs on the comparator are meant to output a square wave, and one just has nothing on it. It's just completely blank. And this is 4 channels. The other 3 channels work perfectly. Just 1 out of 4 doesn't, and it's something to do with amount of power that gets through it. The signal's a bit weaker on on the x-axis. So
is that anything to do with why all my Archimedes mice don't track properly X and Y? Every single one?
It could be related. Someone's suggestion was there was actually an article on MSX, which I can't remember which one it is. Hang on. What's there? There's a pretty big website that does it. It's just msx.org. There you go. He says it's fairly common for the mice to have that x-axis problem. The guy fixed it by just boosting the resistor down the bottom corner to a different one. I don't know, but the signal's weaker on mine, so it might be something similar that fixes it.
Cool.
I don't know, who makes the Archimedes mice? They're like Neos.
So that's a Logitech one that works.
Should look like...
That's an original Archimedes mouse. But all the later ones don't work at all.
Yeah, so under the scope, basically just chuck it on the scope, check the photo diodes, and check the comparator just to see it was coming out was correct, which it wasn't. So I had to work back now and find out why it's not working. But I reckon if I put a resistor in there to add more drain, it should fix it.
It sounds similar actually, because if I just sort of muck around with the light sensor with like a piece of paper or something, it will glitch it'll move the mouse a couple of pixels, but it just won't work normally. So yeah.
The way I did it, I just literally chucked it onto the scope, spin the wheels on each photo diode to see what was coming out, and then I checked the comparator, but I don't know if you got the comparator on those.
I'll do that.
Good luck, Justin. All right, Rob, let's hear it.
Yeah, so Beefy, I've been messing around with this month. So I pulled my Coco 3 out of its box. I've got that set up in the other room at the moment. Just been playing around with a bunch of games from the Coco SDC and swearing a bit from because of how painful the composite output is. So not only just from the artifacting stuff from NTSC for running old programs, but a whole bunch of Coco 3 games had this really weird palette when running on composite. So I ended up, and I basically bought the micro:bit converter, the Gombi setup they have with the CGA to RGB cable. So I've been messing around with that, and that's all set up in the other room at the moment. And of course, the other thing, which I've been playing around with, which I got earlier this week, is Sega Sc3000h, which is the second sort of iteration, which has the proper keyboard instead of the 48K specky dead flesh. And I've got that up.
You can actually type on.
Yeah, you can actually type on. At the moment, I've only got a couple of game carts. I don't have a basic cartridge for it. And it's one of those machines that's like, if you power it up without a cartridge, it just doesn't start up. Yep. It's only got like 2K RAM. And so you have the base. So the RAM is on the basic cartridge. So I'm sort of looking at wanting to hunt one of those down for it to play around with. And also get some more game carts for it. It's not, I mean, it's basically the pre-Master System console in computer form and can run BASIC. So there's some pretty nice little gems there.
Have you thought about putting together a Survivor card?
I've been meaning to ping the folks about seeing whether they've still got any available.
Did you get a response?
No, I haven't had a chance. I haven't pinged them yet. I've been thinking of...
So someone on the group, I can't remember who, someone actually built one. And I have to say after, because I didn't even pay attention to the options.
Shane Broadbent posted the other day. And,
yeah, just looking at it, it looked like a pretty simple build actually. So anyway,
I think he used an existing cartridge, but
you've got to,
if someone was to make up a board, it would probably be quite handy as the base instead of destroying a cartridge.
Yeah, because there's also a 3D printed shell now. So you don't have to gut that, because the Survivors folks actually had their own, but they've discontinued that.
I will admit that I've just gone and bought two the cheapest carts I could find. So I think one was baseball and one was tennis or something, and I was like,
I don't think it'll be much to print a board up anyway.
It's like if you want to try and get the Mega Flash ROM for the MSX series, and it's like $250 by itself.
Yeah. There's not much to them.
And that's before putting a flash card in. So
yeah, but the Mega Flash ROM is basically an FPGA to implement like the SCC sound hardware. So it's a bit fancier.
Yeah, it's pretty fancy. It's stuck in there now.
That Flash stuff is so good. And what's really cool is nearly every platform now has one of those things. So that you can get one for the ColecoVision, the Intellivision, the Vectrex, you name it. They've got these cards, and they just open up a world of possibilities for programmers. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, and even for playing stuff, because there's a lot of stuff where you can't reasonably get a copy of stuff affordably. Like I like trying to get copies for stuff when I want to do videos on them. But yeah, there are plenty of games where it's like, I just don't think I can reasonably consider paying the expense, but at least I can play them and experience them regardless.
MSX2 Dracula, Castlevania, and it's like $250 box.
I paid a fair bit under that actually, and I got it many years ago. I think I paid under 200.
Current price. current price.
Yeah, a lot of things have just gone up over the especially this year, thanks to all of us being locked up inside various places.
Tony Oz was posting the data today about the price of the Omegas.
That's right. They've gone absolutely bunter this year. I mean, even stuff like Macs. I bought a Mac Plus at the beginning of the year for $200. Really nice Mac Plus. At the moment, you're lucky to find a Mac Plus for under $400, and it's not like Mac Pluses are especially rare. So it's not just me that
didn't I get the didn't I get the Mac Plus at auction for like $30 or something?
We did it right.
At Yarra. It was at Yarra auction. The Mac Plus was like $50, $60.
That's all right. Well done.
Well, I'm glad you put that data together, because I've been wondering whether it's just because it felt like over the last year or so price has gone up, but it feels like maybe in the last 2 or 3 months it's shot up again. So
since March, everything's gone crazy. Like I kid you not, I sold an Apple IIgs for horribly
$100, I reckon.
It was $1,100, right? And you'd be very happy to know that then I invested that money into Virgin Australia shares, of which the money is gone.
And it's gone.
And it's gone.
I'm sure you've got another GS to sell.
Yeah, I got a few more.
I put my spare money into tech stocks, which I at least
and it's gone.
A chance that it's going to do better than travel stocks over the next few years.
When I saw it hit 7.8 cents a share, I thought, this COVID's not going to last long.
I think anyone willing to invest just needs to buy stocks in Spotify or Netflix at the moment.
Yeah.
Sure winners.
A good one was actually Afterpay.
Yeah.
And if you'd bought Afterpay just before COVID, some of the lockdowns, then after lockdown spiked like to twice its price.
Oh, God, I actually bought some Zip shares when they were like 50 cents a few years back, and I sold them last year for like $1.50 a strike. And I thought, yeah, I've done all right. Like I'm dead. Last time I checked, they're about $8. In hindsight, I wish I actually bought them back in the height of the COVID panic, and then sort of picked up where I left off. But no one ever went broke taking the profit, so okay.
Well, the thing is, I didn't give much credence to Zoom. I just thought it was the next kind of Skype thing that that was going to fulfill a niche for a little while until something else came along. But Zoom was just getting up and running at the beginning of the COVID, and those who have invested in Zoom because of all the people working from home have done. I think that's probably been the best performing tech stock. And of course, I was too stupid to put any money into Zoom as well. So that's a shame. But
hindsight's 2020.
Yeah. Exactly. Now, what I was saying about Justin's Apple that he got at the printing museum auction was I was prepared to spend more, but I knew Justin and he was there, so I.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, that's there. Yeah, so I backed off and let him have it because the next lot
was the big one.
Yeah, was the rest of the room, and so I thought, oh, I'll get rid of Justin with the mat, and I'll just buy the rest of the room, which I proceeded to do.
I actually can't tell you because I was going to help you with that because there's still some stuff there. I actually got it off you at the end, but there's that girl there was just kept going. And it's just like, who's after this stuff that we don't know?
Yeah, I know it's surprising, but I'm still hanging out for the next one of those to come along.
Yeah, keeping our eyes out.
Like we're entering a golden age of auctioning with Yarra Valley and then the printing museum auctions, but I've got my on the newsletters of all the different auction houses, but they're all just random crap that I don't really,
random crap.
I'm annoyed I missed out on that New Zealand one.
Well, yeah.
That was huge, I think.
I'd really like to talk to a Kiwi about who went there, about how that actually went. It would have been good to get one of them onto this Zoom tonight to talk about how it was, because the thing was that there wasn't much TRS-80 stuff there, but there was clearly a picture of a Model 12 business system there with the 8-inch drives, and yet the TRS-80 enthusiasts who, when they got there, said it was nowhere to be seen. So either it had been sold prior to the sale, or they were just using old photos that they thought no one would care about. But yeah, if I'd flown from Melbourne to Auckland to pick up that TRS-80 and bring it back in my luggage, I'd be a bit disappointed with that trip.
Yeah, I think some things did sell prior, but it wasn't clear. Did things actually have prices, or did you just take it up to the counter?
I think there was prices on some of them.
Yeah.
I talked to, because this was when, right at the beginning, the whole COVID thing, and I was planning on, if it eased up, to go over and make myself go broke again after Yarra Valley. And because I had some pet stuff and early Commodore stuff, and there was a whole heap of interesting stuff there, and they've just gone, yeah, we've got prices on it, and it's open for a few days, first come, first serve, basically. So it wasn't like an auction.
Oh, okay.
So
there's probably the better stuff already sold prior to the public.
I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah, but I think also a lot of the I was looking at the document there of all the manifest of what they had there, and it seemed like if you were going to come in with a low ball bid, they wouldn't sell it to you. They'd take your bid on notice, and a day later or the next day, or when interested, had obviously not sold the thing, they'd contact you to come and buy your thing at the low ball price or something.
Yeah.
Which, as a international fly-in, wouldn't work. It would be too much.
You'd have to secure a few items to make it worthwhile before you left.
Yeah. Oh, we could have filled Malcolm McLeod's plane with. Trouble is, we'd be stuck in. They wouldn't let us back in the country, would they, Malcolm? Are you listening? I know he's muted.
He's muted.
He's away from the keyboard probably. But,
It'd all probably get stuck in customs anyway, and then it'd be stuck in there for a few months and more fees.
that was the only way I could think we could get to New Zealand, because well and truly by the time the sale came along, there was no flights anywhere. And there's be a chance that if we flew,
you wouldn't come back.
The control tower would just say, "Go home, Aussies."
I think it'd be a challenge there, but Horsham's more doable.
What's more doable?
Horsham.
Horsham.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Back to our schedule. Who else has something to share?
I've got a couple of things if anyone's interested.
Yep. Go for it, Tony.
Yeah, I wasn't here last month, but obviously over the last couple of months, I finally got my Acorn Electron finished. That's all up and running really nicely now. So that was just a case of cleaning the keyboard, which was in a really bad state, doing a color composite mod and a few other bits and pieces. Made a couple of videos about that. So this is a really fun little machine. It's, think along the lines of a BBC micro that's been cost reduced. It's a really fun little machine. I'm not holding it up properly, am I? There you go. That's it, Acorn Electron. I actually bought that from New Zealand, not from that auction, but I bought that about 6 months ago because you can't really find them over here. Not usually, except for last month when 3 appeared at once, but that hasn't really happened. So I'm really glad that I got my hands on that elk, and I've had a lot of fun with that. A600's come back from being recapped by Bruce from Brankus Creations. So I don't know who was looking for their Amiga or someone was looking to get an Amiga recapped. I think whoever was getting the Amiga 600 from South Australia, have a chat to Bruce Rain at Brankus Creations. He's really good at this sort of stuff. He normally does Macs, but he'll also do Amigas.
Well, I've streams it because I watched it. Well, I think I watched that actual A600 being.
Yeah, it's that actual A600. I think I was keeping count of something at the time, hence the weird stars. It was 1995. I was on a lot of drugs at the time. Basically the A600. The plan is I was going to try and make a floppy drive work with it because there's a few different methods. Either find the floppy drive with the jumpers that you can change, modify certain models of Panasonic drive, or try something that's basically what's called the Argentinian hack, where it's just by hacking certain traces and stuff. But I can't be asked. I will probably just run a GoTech in it. So that's that one there. And the reason I can't be asked is I did something a bit silly. I actually bought, and you can still get reasonably priced stuff if you look and you're quick. I think I may have a problem. In the last month, I've bought 8 BBC micros. I've actually 6 BBC micros, a B plus 128 and a master. So I'm Acorn's like crack for me. So the plan is to actually, I've got one of them here. This is the one I bought locally. It's a Wong's issue 7. Now so far the main issue that it's got, no pun intended, is that obviously the keyboard's missing a few keys, but not only that, it actually seems like there's a high bit. It just will not get past. It'll take you to the boot up screen, but you can't input anything to the keyboard, and it gives the long beep of death. And I've traced it back to IC3, which is a 6522. I don't believe the chip's the problem because I've actually got a few known good chips on the other beeps, and I'm still having the same issue. So that might be something to do with the socket or something like that. But out of the other beeps, I've got a whole bunch of recapping to do with power supplies, as you can imagine. And so far, of the ones I've tested, one of them has got some bad RAM, so it's basically only working at 16K at the moment. And another one has spade connectors missing for the power supply. So I reckon if I soldered some new spade connectors on, that might be another working machine. So the plan is to have, I guess, a bit of a collection of BBC micros. I mean, there's a good selection of issue 3, issue 4, issue 7 in the Bs, as well as, of course, having a master as well as a B+. But I'm going to have a couple of dupes, so I may end up flipping a couple of them to try and get my money back, because all in, I've spent about $1,200 on BBC micros in the last 2 months, and the missus doesn't know about it. So, which is still pretty good going, I guess, in context. But yeah, I'm still... Yeah, so I may have to flip a couple of them to get my money back, or some of my money back. We'll watch this.
You have an EcoNet set up for them?
Only 2 of them have got EcoNet on. Actually, no, I think, 2 of them have got EcoNet, and the other master that I had previously also has EcoNet. So I might even set up a small EcoNet just for the lulls. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's pretty simple.
Yeah, it looks pretty straightforward. It'll take me back to when I was in high school, and that's probably the reason why I've got a bit of a BBC fetish. That sounds bad, especially in
Oh,
2020.
oh no.
I just realised they can take that out of context. You can take that out of context if you wanted to. Yeah, anyway. Shit, where was I? Oh, yeah, no, like networking. The first local area network I played with was EcoNet. So I'm definitely keen to get as many of the machines as possible up and running in a small EcoNet sort of setup. But at the moment, the one issue 7 that I have, which is fully operational, which is basically museum quality, it's in a cupboard. I don't even want to use it. I've only used it once, and that was to install a smart SPI, which is essentially your micro SD type storage setup. And the great thing with the Beebs is they're so cheap. They're like about $40 from the UK delivered, and comes with a disc and all that sort of stuff, and the SD card, and they're fantastic.
Have you thought about a PyTube Direct for one of them?
I've got 2 of them. I've actually got 2 PyTube Directs. One's going into my master, and one of them's going into one of the Beebs. I haven't worked out which one yet. I've also got, also bought a whole bunch of stuff for my master. Well, my first master, I bought a bunch of stuff from Retro Clinic a couple of months ago. You know, like a ROM switcher and all these other bits and pieces, just to kind of really zhuzh up my master that I'm going to be keeping. And the other master, that's probably one of the machines I may end up flipping. So I guess watch this space.
Thanks, Tony. You were going to say something, Alan?
Oh, yeah, just briefly. Yeah, you were talking about a recorder and so forth. I've just bought one of these.
What is that?
It's a ZX Spectrum cassette player.
Oh, the TZX Duino? Is that the one?
No, it comes from Russia.
Oh,
okay. It hasn't arrived yet.
It looks like a sheet of paper to me.
It is a sheet of paper. This is taken straight off my bloody eBay purchase, but that's showing you what it looks like, and you can record and play. It verifies it can record and play WAV files.
So it's got like little audio jacks on it, does it?
Yeah.
How much is it? And tell me the item number.
I'll send it to you. But just do an eBay search for ZX Spectrum cassette player.
I will.
I've got it here somewhere. Cassette player for ZX Spectrum computer. And that's assembled. It's $43 US. Plus some postage of $10. I think it worked out about $80 when I bought it. I spoke to the guy first before I bought it, and it appears I'm just going to use it for my microbeat.
I just found it. Yeah. $52.89 plus $12 postage.
That's the
one.
one.
It's going up then.
Yeah.
Yep. And you can buy it in kit form as well. It's about $5 cheaper.
Interesting.
Looking at the specs and everything, there's a nice little cassette player for me ROM-based microbeats.
So should I wait for yours to turn up and you tell me how awful or fantastic it is, and then I go from there, or?
It's up to you. I'll certainly tell you. But also, as you know, as most of you may have seen, I've been doing a lot of scanning of late. I've had APC's Australian Personal Computer box full of those. They got some water damage about 15 years ago, and a couple of them got some recent water damage. So in the end, before I was about to chuck them all out, no, hang on, I better scan them. So I ended up just cutting the spines off them because I'm going to get chucked anyhow. But they recorded up quite well. And then the next thing is, well, hang on, I've got all these Your computers and there's none of those up anywhere. Because there's lots of ETIs and the EAs, they're everywhere. But none of the APCs or the Your computers.
Your computer was actually on the archive.org, but not the ones you've posted. They had like different years.
Yeah, there's they're all the UK ones though.
Ah, yes, that's right.
Yeah, no, the Australian ones, which have got nothing to do with the UK. There's no interaction with articles or anything like that.
Just happen to have the same name.
It just happened to have the same name, correct. So this is what I've been saying, you know, well, I've made it so that you can just search for a YC and the year, and they'll come up.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, Alan, because I know that when I want to make a video or something, I want to talk about about a machine's background or whatever in the Australian context. It's been impossible to get that sort of info. So having all that available is going to be a massive help. So thanks again. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no problems. Yeah, because there's some fantastic photos and articles on some of the computers that I've never heard of or I've forgotten all about. And just a few in. I'm actually doing the very last one at the moment. And this is actually learning with your computer. And it came out in 89. Sorry, 89. So that's the very last one I'll get to do, and I'll post all them up tomorrow. So.
Yeah, I need to synchronize your collection with mine because I've got.
I sent you the Excel spreadsheets.
Oh, I haven't looked.
Oh no, I've sent you the Excel spreadsheets and tells you exactly what I've got and what I've acquired. Yeah, and what's missing.
Cool.
For both APC and your computer.
When I was digging through, Rob Caporetto, I found these. Sega Addict it's an Australian computer users group, and it's got a bunch of type-in programs that you might want to do for your Sega. Oh, you haven't got BASIC. Oh,
Oh, I wonder if those have been archived.
I bet you they haven't. What's interesting is it's actually local. The club was in Doveton. Yep, Doveton. That's right.
The ANZ popularity of them was very interesting. It's like that were a minor thing here, which was really interesting.
They're actually reasonably big. The Sega Sc3000s, I believe, they were imported by John Sands, who got greeting cards and stuff. And yeah, we did reasonably well down here, especially compared with, say, the ZX Spectrum, which went virtually nowhere. You know, of course, the Commodore 64 had pretty much just wiped the floor with everything else. So.
They sold them at Myer. They sold them at Myer, Tony.
Oh, what was ZX Spectrum? Yeah, I know they did, but they didn't really do that well. That's the thing, not compared to the C64, which is a juggernaut. You know, and that said, this has come from a dude who's a raging Spectrum fanboy, you know. So, you know, nothing wrong with C64 mine. I've got one of them, but yeah.
Very good.
Well, talking about Maya, that catalogue was a laugh that you put up, Anthony.
And what was great was I think people actually appreciated it for what I actually meant.
Yeah.
It's got COVID pricing.
Yeah, it would have been interesting to know what the Apple II was priced at.
$2,000.
Yeah, in 80s money.
Dick Smith's catalogue for about 83, Christmas catalogue. All about the front page is the Vic 20.
Have you scanned that in?
I have scanned it. I haven't put it up yet.
Oh, that's awesome. That would be great. That would be a great read.
There's all these, lots of micro:b stuff.
Awesome.
I guess that's all on the MSPP archive? All the
Yes, they are, correct, yeah.
Oh, yep.
They're also on micro:b technology forum as well. This is...
Sinclair, is it? Oh, nice.
It's just a...
Yeah, I can see why it didn't sell.
Yeah.
I used to go to the Myer computer department in the CBD in Melbourne, and they had all the computers set up next to each other. It was actually quite well done. They were trying to make the sales of computers a serious business. The trouble that I always saw with those sub-miniature machines like the Spectrum and the ZX81 and the TRS-80 MC10 is that people would look at it and say, no, I'm not buying something that small or that cheap. I can at least afford the next
bigger
thing.
Yeah.
And I kind of think that that Tandy's introduction of the MC10 was not about the MC10. It was about getting colour computer sales. moving along, because people would just say, well, for $100 more, I can actually get a real size computer that takes joysticks and disk drives and things. So that's not to take anything away from the capabilities of the Spectrum, but
damage has been done.
Was its downfall in Australia, was its physical size?
Well, I think that, and also if you wanted the small little, I don't want to say toy computer, but you want the little computer. Dick Smith had that market stitched up with the VZ200 and the VZ300. You got to remember that they were cheap and they were effective, and Dick Smith had a massive marketing juggernaut, and he was importing them for cheap direct from Hong Kong or whatever. So I guess between the VZs and the Commodore machines, the likes of the Spectrum, Sega Sc3000, they're always going to struggle.
Well, any computer that I've worked this out. Any computer that Dick Smith released, if he made an application that was related to radio, then the computer became a success. And if he didn't have an application associated to RTTY or QSL or ham radio or anything, then no one bought it.
I mean, that makes sense given Dick Smith was, as I understand, somewhat involved with the amateur radio scene. I think it was in the Funway books that he signed off with his VK2 ZIP, I think it was.
Oh, yeah, he's call sign, yeah.
Yeah. So I can see how he'd definitely leverage the radio link to any of the computer stuff, though I have to wonder if any of that's around anymore.
I wonder if there was any kind of radio type software for the Dick Smith Wizard, for example. I mean, that's, given that was ostensibly a games machine, but also a computer of sorts, makes you wonder if and that was quite reasonably successful, maybe not as successful as, say, the System 80 or the VZs or whatever. But yeah, it's an interesting point you've raised there, Ian, because I know Dick was really fully into the amateur radio stuff.
Actually, we've got Andrew Laird here. Hey, Andrew, how you going? Did you want to tell us what radio stuff was available?
This is the VZ RTTY kit that they developed. So Dick Smith put this out as a kit. My background's sort of not helping there. And it's got 2 boards in it. So that's the modem board. Is it going to work? Are you in the right spot?
Your board's green, that's a problem.
I might have to turn my background off.
Yeah, good idea.
It's very messy behind, but anyway.
We wait, John.
I look forward to seeing it.
Well, have a look at behind me.
And me.
It's even messier behind me, but anyway. Let's turn this virtual background off somewhere. How do you do that? None. Okay.
Ooh. That's a very intriguing looking room you have there, Andrew.
Okay, there we go. That's the modulator demodulator board, and the decoder board's on the back with the ROM in it.
Yeah. And so did that have so that would boot up to a RTTY terminal program, would it?
Yeah, so that's a cartridge. There's a memory space for a cartridge, and it checked the onboard ROM would check the cartridge space. If there was something there, it would hand over control to the cartridge, and that goes straight into a RTTY serial terminal sort of thing.
Yeah. My limited experience with radio amateurs is that they have a lot of money for their radios, like their Yaesu receivers, transmitters, and their antennas and stuff. They have very little money for computer stuff. So,
well, there was plenty of if some guy designed his own RTTY module and published it in amateur radio as well.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't surprise me that the VZ200 was a big hit with radio people because it's cheap.
Yeah,
allows them to spend more money on radios.
Oh, so was the microboom. Microboom was well and truly used throughout the radio amateur group. Had all the programs that they needed.
Yep.
There was one, what was it called? For even getting your satellite weather patterns, and you could print them out yourself.
That's
before you read them in the Herald or the Sun or whatever, the newspaper, you could print them out yourself.
Mm. I've always been looking for an interesting but also functional radio teletype board for the TRS-80, and there were a few made, but I can never get one that's complete enough, working enough, it comes with the software or is functional enough for me to want to reverse engineer and start making it available.
Well, have a look at Ewan. I gave him my unit. I gave it to Ewan just to put in his showcase.
Yeah.
Borrow it and pull it apart.
Just connect a serial port.
Yeah. What was it called? I'm just trying to think of its bloody name. But it was in one of the magazines, EA or ETI.
Okay, yeah.
Was that the generic modem, Ritty modem, or Ritty's? Yeah. Or was that specific for the microbee?
No, just, well, I suppose the software was specific, but thinking about it, it would have been fairly generic.
Might even be in one of the copies of EA or ETI that's on the Internet Archive.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll see if I can have a look while we're chatting here.
There was a VZ200 project next to a Ritty modem in one of the mags.
I've got the whole bloody repositories here, so I can just quickly scan it.
I need to get some of those Electronics Australia issues from you at some point, Andrew, as well.
Yeah, well, that's the pile right behind me.
Okay.
Was this the pile that had the like universal MIDI interface DIY kit thing in it? I remember seeing a photograph of that and thinking that sounds dangerous and interesting.
Electronics Australia, 99% of those are all scanned and available on the net.
Yeah, they're well.
So same as ETI, majority of those are up on the net.
Yeah, they've been up for years as well because they've all been scanned in by the amateur radio people.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have full text search, so like looking for a term in them is not so quick.
Oh, okay.
Well, everything I upload is searchable. So, and I haven't said, and if I download anything like Anthony's, those couple, I just rescan those, so I've got them as searchable. And reduce their size down considerably as well.
One thing you can do, Alan, is you can stress less because archive.org automatically OCR everything.
Yes, yeah.
And the search criteria that you apply, you can apply, and when you search, you can actually search the OCR data. So if you do a search for, I don't know, some strange combination of words like IBM JX network, for example, you'll get every document that has that reference.
Yeah, correct. I understand. Yeah, that's as far as the site, but I want to do it. I don't want to do it necessarily offline. I want to do it on the hard drive.
Okay, no worries.
So yeah, I convert everything to searchable PDFs. It's just a matter of course.
Cool.
I'm not going to lie, I've pretty much leached every single one of your uploads onto my own personal hard drive, Alan, because again, sometimes the net's not up, so it's nice to be able to have them searchable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for that.
That's what I put them up there for everyone to download and use them.
What time was that, Tony? What time was the net not up? I missed it.
We're all on the NBN, mate,
Not everyone.
So who's next? Jump in, guys. Don't be shy.
Oh, I'll go next.
Cool. Go, Danny.
Okay. Well, I haven't actually done a lot because I'm still working every day, so I don't have that much time on my hands. But I have decided to start cutting back on my items because I've got way too much as well, and so little room to store it because I only live in a small place.
Danny, don't sell all your Apple III external drives.
Why, do you want one? Oh, no, the Apple IIIs won't leave for a while. But having said that, Murray did me a favour and picked up a Lisa that I bought on eBay for recently.
Oh, you were the buyer.
Yeah, the big.
There you go, Tony. There's the guy.
Congratulations.
You were thinking about it?
No, we didn't see it. It was up so fast. Tony scoured it and found it, but I didn't even know it was up.
Yeah, no, it wasn't as pictured because he actually tried to sell it on Gumtree about 2 weeks prior. And it was kind of odd because he didn't have the actual photos of the item there either. But what he did say was I asked him about it, and he said, "Oh, it's for auction on Gumtree." And I thought, what does that mean? But anyway, long and short of it, he sent me some photos which I could barely make out because they were so poorly taken. But pretty much had everything I needed. Had the profile, there was software. The computer looked reasonable. So when I saw it on eBay, I just bought it. And like I said, Murray was nice enough to go and pick it up for me. So I don't quite have it yet.
It has an internal widget or
it'll be it'll have a widget, but it's also got a profile.
Oh wow!
So it'll have so it's got
the profile for the top there.
Yeah, well, I'm assuming it's got a widget, but because it's the later model, so there's no battery damage. But it's got an external parallel card, so for the profile to be connected to it. So, but I think I can't remember. It was some university the profile because it was stamped on the front, as they like to do. Unfortunately,
not nice.
But, yeah, I cleaned it up a little bit, so it looks a little bit more presentable than it did when they first did it. But yeah, I took that apart. My problem is I've started about 15 projects waiting for the parts to come in. So I keep starting another one and another one and another one. And I've got screws everywhere of different shapes and sizes. So I'm looking forward to actually getting some components and putting everything back together. But the main thing I've started now is I'm looking at making my own sponges for the capacitance keyboards, just to because I've got quite a few now to replace. So there were some instructions online on how to make them, just using replacement foam and some Milex and a couple of other little bits and pieces. So
I think Adrian Black recently made a video about that, where he replaced some of those foam type keyboard plungers in a Franklin Ace 1000, and he reckons it was easier for him to actually just buy them because apparently the 8-bit guy tried making them and he wasn't happy with the results. So it might be worth checking out those videos of both Adrian and the 8-bit guy maybe.
Yeah, there is a person that makes them, which I think is the one that Adrian bought, and they're on another forum. They were actually discussing the process of making them. They don't look that difficult if you use the right foam.
Oh.
And the problem is I need quite a few of them, and it starts to add up, especially coming from the States.
Yeah, it wouldn't be cheap if you could find the correct foam and actually, I guess, fabricate your own here.
Yeah, I think yeah, because even the person that makes them in America made a few mistakes. They were using closed cell foam, which was too dense. So although it worked, it was really, you lost the normal feel that those keyboards give. So I've picked up a few parts. So I'm going to try to make some, test it. If it works all right, then I'll make some more. I don't know if anyone else needs any when I start a production plant.
What particular machines are you doing?
I've got a couple of Lisa keyboards, and I've got some other keyboards.
Lisa keyboards.
Yeah, well, I've got the one that's coming from Murray, but I've got another one, and they've all disintegrated. I don't know if you've ever opened them up.
I've never opened it up, but
you just look at the phone. Yeah, you just look at it, and it disintegrates basically. So all it is it's like plastic, foam, and then like a metallized paper on top, and the foam in the middle just disintegrates from age.
So are you suggesting that I just don't open it? It'll be fine for
Well, if it's working, don't open it. But I suspect if you open it, if you open it, it'll turn to dust, essentially.
Right.
Don't touch it.
Also, Anthony, what you find with those ones as well, this is sort of, I've done a few of those keyboards. Ladies have the same foam pad things as well. If you've got one key that doesn't work and then you open it and change that one key, another one will follow pretty soon after, because they all degrade at the same rate. So just because you've got one or two keys out, you've basically got to make a weekend project of it and do the whole keyboard.
Yeah.
So that's one thing to know. I got my kit from Germany or somewhere in there.
Okay.
Not the American kit, and I found that it worked pretty well. It was pretty good actually. Though I haven't bought one of those for ages because I don't know if this applies for other systems. Definitely on the TRS-80s, we can use the key plungers out of Sun Type 4 keyboards, and which comes with as well as the foam thing. Sun used a higher quality foam that that doesn't degrade over time. So although the keyboards are only about 10 years younger than a TRS-80 keyboard,
Yeah.
still in perfect condition. So what I do each time I go to the US is I get a couple of those, I buy them on eBay, and they're waiting for me when I get to the US, and then I just put them in my luggage when I come home. And they, as well as having the foam pads and the round disc, they also have the plastic plunger already attached to them.
Okay, yeah.
So opening a TRS-80 keyboard, you just pop off all the
Flick them off. Yeah.
Prise out the whole plunger with the thing and pop all the new ones out of the Sun keyboard in, and you've rebuilt a keyboard in about an hour. And, and I buy those keyboards when they show up in the US and get them sent to a friend of mine. You can usually get those keyboards for about $30 to $40 each.
Okay.
You get 104 keys.
Yeah.
Out of them, and so yeah, I grab a couple of those when I go to the US. So they're a lot easier than making up the new pads. But
yeah, I just thought it'd give me something to do because I've got quite a few to do, and I thought I'll give it a shot. And there might be others that want it as well. So if I can perfect it, because all these, the Lisa and all the other ones, they're made by Keytronics keyboards, so they all have the same phone, and they're all just as bad as each other.
Yeah, that's what's interesting, is that's who made it for Sun, but for whatever reason, Sun specified a different grade of foam, which doesn't degrade like the other ones do over the years. But but if you've got the right type of punch to make the circles, it should be fairly straightforward.
Yeah, well, the punches are available online. They're fairly standard. I think they're just 11 mil. They use them for leather purposes as well, so they are available. It's just a matter of, obviously, it doesn't sound like much, but when you've got to punch out 100 and something, pads, it starts to add up.
Yeah.
So, and then you've got to have double-sided tape on both, or some sort of spray adhesive to bond both sides of the foam. So, but I'll give it a go.
I think the reason I went with the European kit was that although it didn't have the aluminium pads, conductors on them, both sides did have
complete,
and they were covered in peel-off tabs, so you could peel off the tabs, reuse the
plastic,
carefully put it back in so it doesn't touch the sides of the aperture in the keyboard, and you'll get a working key out of it. But
the keyboards are a great idea. There's no issue with corrosion or anything in key switches, but bloody hell, they had to choose this foam. Wouldn't it be, I don't know what's worse. You can always fix up a mechanical switch, but this stuff, you've just got to replace it all.
So what's the foam for? Just a return?
No. There's on each key switch. There's a spring. The key actually doesn't work on making contact. It's capacitance. So it can sense, the foam just compresses as you push down and makes the plate go towards the board. Like I said, it's a good concept, but they just these foam. No, so
because it's not too bad for RSI, which is why it was. Which why it was so popular. But
I just thought it was a cost-saving measure rather than mechanical switches, because I assume they add up in cost.
You can have expensive and cheap mechanical switches, but as offices through the 80s grew from one to multiple computers, noisy keyboards were out, unless you work for IBM. And,
that's how they knew if you were working or not. These days, you wouldn't know if anyone was typing or not.
Here's a funny story. Back when I used to work for the freight company, I was in the IT department. Everyone we had HP equipment, and all our HPs all have these silent keyboards, modern keyboards. They're very good because you can have a small office with 30 computers in it if everyone's typing or everything. So I got sick of the snide comments that I never did any work. So I bought a DAS keyboard with the extra clicky sound, so people could hear me typing from across the office. And obviously I took that keyboard with me when I left because I paid my own money. But There was never a comment that I didn't do anything there while I had that thing. If anyone knows the DAS keyboards as well, you can order a specific model with no inscriptions on any of the keys. And so I got one of those. And so when I'd go on leave and people would go to use my computer, they would not even be able to get their password in because of this blank keyboard.
Yeah, so pretty much that's been my last few weeks, just gearing myself up for a few repairs. Once all my parts come in from DigiKey, then I might actually be able to put some stuff back together rather than pulling things apart. So, and then maybe offload some stuff on eBay. Maybe. There's too many Apple stuff at the moment, so I have to wait.
Yeah,
you got to be very selective.
Yeah.
Someone dumped a heap of Apple IIes in the last couple of days.
Yeah, I noticed, and stuff that looked crap was going for unbelievable money.
Well, my one I put up, it went for a very nice price, but I chose that time to put it up because there'd been at least a month, I reckon 4 weeks of Apple IIe stuff.
Yeah.
I sort of timed it and got what I consider to be a very nice amount of money, but of course 5 minutes later everyone's put up their crap.
I thought you did well with the disc too. I don't know if that was the actual price you sold it for.
I took an offer on that, but yeah, it sold pretty quickly. I was surprised. All of the disc 2s that I've got left at the moment are all non-working, so I'll probably have to pull them all apart one day and make
something.
Make a couple of good ones out of a bunch of crappy ones.
Yeah, they're pretty easy to fix. Then I think out of all mine, I don't think I've got any that don't work now, so they are repairable.
Yeah. Well, I think you plug the connector into the disc controller
backwards.
Set by one pin. There's a chip that on the logic board of the drive that goes pretty quick.
The LS 74 LS 125, I think it is. That always goes. I have a good stock of those for that reason. So.
Hey, James is here. What have you been up to, James?
Oh, what have I been up to? Well, I moved.
You moved?
I remember vaguely telling you that I was due to move up this way. Well, it actually bloody happened.
Yeah, you must have got in just before the lockdown.
Where did you move to, James?
I moved in the 14th of April.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I've got to say, I'm in the background because it's much better than most of us. Your place looks orderly and, properly.
It's orderly maintained because I tend to hire very fierce women as support workers, and they run a tighter ship than I am generally comfortable with. So it's lots of me going, yes, dear.
Where are you, James?
Ringwood. I'm at Ringwood.
Oh, nowhere near.
He's in lockdown central with the rest of us in Melbourne and Greater Melbourne. So
yeah.
But
I got just before I left Outlook, I took possession of a K6-2 computer. For those of you who don't know, I'm James. I'm a recovering vintage computing enthusiast, albeit not a very good recovering vintage computing enthusiast, but I am recovering. And yeah, I worked at an e-waste processing facility. Hence, that's how I ended up with a 6 by 7.2 by 2.4 meter shed full of computer stuff. What have I got? So there's an XT class computer in the cupboard here. I've got a 386 DX40 that I've swapped the case from a K6-2 on. Just done a case swap because the case looked to be about the period of something that would have been a DX40 or a early low end 486. You know, kind of that period. I'd take a photo of it. In fact, I might take a photo of it and post it. So the plan was to have that as my in-betweener machine because it has proper dedicated XT class ISA slots, which means if I'm plugging something like a hard drive controller in, I don't need to worry about the board extending over the length of the card connector. So for the...
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, you get what I mean, don't you?
Yeah. For those who don't recognise James from the Printing Museum auction, he's one of the few here who owns a Data General Nova mini computer.
Yes. Well, I don't own the Data General Nova anymore. My father does. A big argument and a disagreement. Well, all right, buy it from me then. So he did. So as such, my father owns a Data General Nova, more telephones than you can ever bloody shake a stick at, more beer cans than you can ever want to possibly drink in your life, and a bunch of other things.
James, does he have a VAX and a PDP-11?
No, but he does know somebody that does. How are you, Malcolm?
Good, thanks, James.
So is all your stuff still in Cranbourne?
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
So the plan is to have this DX40 be my in-betweener machine to plug in hard drives and whatever else, and kind of use it as a test bench, but also as a computer. So I'm hoping there should be enough power in it to run something like Norton Ghost or whatever an equivalent might be that will allow me to capture the hard drives of computers that I've got, particularly because I've got one that's an ex-IBM engineers, one that's full of quote-unquote IBM internal use only stuff. Nothing particularly fancy. It's just more a case of here's IBM's internal DOS tutor, and here's IBM's C tutoring program and whatever else.
Horst's right. What's a finished computer? Miserable pile of secrets.
Exactly. Eventually, when I get myself a job, the next thing I want to put money towards is getting my my 750s up and going. For those who don't know, I bought three VAX 11 750s from Malcolm, and they've been sitting in my garage. So I pulled them out, and the quote-unquote good one with all the bits, the one I actually bought, it had its power lead cut, like the end of the like the actual plug bit on the PowerPoint. So I've either got to sell a kidney or win the lotto and find myself some sort of electronics engineer who I can send the whole lot up to, go sink X amount of time into it and tell me whether or not I'm chasing my tail trying to get this stuff to work. This is completely irrespective of whether or not it actually is viable to run.
Maybe Malcolm would be able to help.
Yeah, I'll come in.
you'd think that, but it's kind of the bloke I bought them from. So I don't know whether he's going to be as keen to go, I remember looking at this, and this is why I got rid of it.
Is it just the power lead?
So the power lead is kind of where I got to, if you get what I mean. I don't know whether the rest of it works or doesn't work. Bear in mind, I do have the hard drive assembly to the RA81 that's got to be installed. I spent stupid amounts of money getting one imported from America. And then had a look at how much my power bill was going to cost running the thing and decided that was a really silly purchase. For the record, an RA81 is a 14.5-inch fixed disk platter hard drive that Digital made. It's a 460 megabytes.
Dim the lights when you switch it on.
Well, the power consumption is 4.32 kilowatt hours for the first 4 seconds, just to get the disk up to speed. And then it levels out at a comparatively tiny 500 watts.
This is one of those hard drives that's about the size of a Dell PowerEdge, yeah?
Yeah. It's about the size of a Dell PowerEdge. Probably one of the rack mount ones, but considerably heavier.
I was thinking one of the old floor mount ones. It's, about so wide, about half as tall as I am. Move along on wheels.
Not quite. It's in a rack. It's in a half height rack.
Okay.
It's still in the rack that I got it from Malcolm from.
So have you been doing anything recently at all, James, or just still moving into Ringwood?
Moving into Ringwood at the living on my own is more expensive. Not that I've realized, it's just more of a case of, because I'm not working and I'm in lockdown, I'm more inclined to spend my money, so I don't really have as much spare income as I thought I might, because I'm bored, like sitting at home going, what's there to do?
That's not good.
But my next major purchase, purely because I can't believe I didn't pick up the cheaper lower end version when it was at Outlook. I'd love a HP 200 LX little palm top thing. Because I just love the idea that you get an XT class computer that'll work for like 40 hours off 2 AA's.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Does anybody else have anything else to share?
Well, I don't know if you want to know about it, but I did attend the ACMS AGM.
Yeah, we can have a quick wrap up. Oh, quick.
Yeah. Well, the AGM went down reasonably well. Most people thought the Treasurer's report was a load of crap, so they voted it out. And none of the previous committee decided to stand for the new committee, which was a good thing. Yeah, and then the shit hit the fan, as you all know. Big time. So
hang on.
Hopefully it'll improve.
Is that subsequent to the major shit hitting the fan? Am I up to date, or have I missed that?
Yeah, I don't really want this to really focus on
Yeah.
that event. I think
No.
we need to really not just leave that alone and let that sort of be the past.
Yeah, I didn't want to elaborate on that too much, but I mean, everybody here probably knows enough
We
about
know
it.
it too well.
Yeah. So
Yeah. All right. Cool.
I'm just hoping that there will be some benefits in the future from the new committee.
They look like they've acknowledged what that they have to move on from their ramshackle past of random crapola and actually get a proper place and treat it seriously.
I for one, am looking forward to the ramshackle future.
Yeah, I think that's the way that they're looking at and doing it. One of the people, I mean, I don't know where it came from, but you all know Adrian, obviously. He's actually bought a property in Portland to house his computer collection. He has the largest collection of Apple and Macintosh stuff in the country.
Portland, New South Wales?
Yes, near Lithgow.
Yeah, that's not very
Oregon.
far from me. I might have to see if I can secure an invite to drive out and have a look.
He's currently moving stuff up there. I don't know what his plans are for opening it in the future. He has planned or had plans for quite a while now to set up his own Apple and Macintosh museum.
Yeah, they have approached me to sort of to ask, you know, what can they do to make a better a go of what they've been trying to do all these years, and I've talked mainly about the getting out into the public and the sort of things that we've been doing in Melbourne, and that's all I've said is that really, unless you're prepared to sort of get out and start doing stuff that gets you something of a public profile, then nothing's going to change there.
Yeah, it's a waste of time. I mean, the mentality in the past has just been hoarding and storing stuff, and
so I wish them well, and I hope that they can sort of pull it into something that's that is befitting of all the equipment that they've got. Though based on the past, I'll be surprised if it. I'll be happy if it gets to that point. Put it that way.
Yeah. The biggest problem, of course, is the lack of money. They really need to cull stuff and work out what they've got, because even now, even after the Villawood disaster, they still don't know what they've got.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's their biggest problem. I've contacted them over the last decade, particularly wanting to back up and archive their micro-B and other Aussie stuff, both software and paperwork.
Yeah.
They turn around and say, well, one, we don't know what we've got.
No.
And what we do have, we don't even know where it is. Well,
I did find some micro-B stuff from Villawood, which has been rescued. Some's been scanned. But yeah, there was some good stuff. I did find quite a few good items, some which they haven't got back yet. And until they start to look after the current stuff better, they're not going to get it back. So.
Yeah. And if they continue on the way they have done, I think you might start seeing some of it on eBay.
Well, I'm surprised. I mean, I think, apart from the crazy prices, there's been a lot of stuff being sold on eBay. I mean, people are going through things and getting rid of a lot of stuff.
I think it's a golden opportunity for most people if they're stuck at home.
And some of them haven't got any work, so they're desperate to get rid of it.
And one that gives them a bit of income as well.
If most of my stuff wasn't at Cranbourne, and I could get out to be doing it, that's what I'd be doing. At the moment, I'm just kind of spinning my wheels, trying to work out how I want all my testing and stuff to start. Teaching my support workers, teaching my support workers about how you install an Isobus card into a computer that is probably about the same age as you and I. That is particularly interesting. I've got to break it. I'm like, look, if you're going to break it, you're only going to be doing something that I would have done anyway.
Support workers are actually like sort of, I guess, you're managing to get them into the vintage computing stuff?
I wouldn't say get them into. A lot of them are kind of, wow, I've learned a lot. Mind you, I did sell one of my previous carers on the idea. I go, hey, the Canadian Atomic Energy Department type thing, were keen on PDP-11 assembler programmers. I go, look, I've got all the material to learn how to become a PDP-11 assembler programmer. How about you and I take a year off, travel to Canada, and write our own paychecks? To which she didn't necessarily go for it, but that might have been because she still had a 2-year-old she had to deal with.
Yeah, 2-year-olds complicate things.
They do.
Yeah. That might be what's done it. But my ultimate goal, I'd imagine, like if you give me, say, $10 million as a benevolent,
it's not likely to happen.
Not from anyone here.
I reckon I'd be able to spontaneously walking, but it would. I would love to do like a living computer museum type thing.
I think everybody here in this room would love to do that.
Yeah,
love to do that. Trouble is, how do you make it viable?
Yeah, I think that's the problem, because there's people who are enthusiasts, but how many times are you going to go to the museum? And, you know, how do you get other people that are not necessarily that interested there as well? So, I don't know, just...
It's the sort of place that we'd all love to go through, but...
Yeah,
once.
How many times? Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, most museums will roll out stuff, you know, they won't show everything. They'll have things, they'll put things away and then they'll change it over. But there's only so many people that will attend those type of things. So like when Murray was talking about Adrian, again, you know, it'd be great to see once, but I can't imagine seeing someone's collection on a regular basis to make it viable. I think it's probably more for him about storage more than making a museum out of it, if he's got that much.
Possibly.
Well, he's been doing exactly the same as the ACMS. He's been in basically the purchasing and hoarding mode, and he's got everything apart from an Apple One. But now he's sort of moving into the display stage. But I don't think he's doing it to make money out of it. I'm pretty sure.
Well, he definitely won't be doing that.
he makes money out of his business repairing Macs, which is a very good one. But yeah, it'll be good to see how it goes.
That would be a good way of synergizing the two businesses, is if you actually had a work premises, like a computer store, and the Apple
exactly.
That's like a marriage made in heaven.
Well, this is where he's got a lot of his stuff too, because people bring in old stuff to recycle or trade in.
Yeah, I mean, one way you could possibly make it work in Australia is if you had, say, everything stored at a central point and then maybe kind of had it travelling to the various museums in each state and then maybe rotate it that way, because it's not like the UK, for example, where they've got a bigger population, Europe's close, and they're able to support a couple of big museums over there like Bletchley Park and the Centre for Computing History in Cambridge. But it'd be great to see something like that, even if it was like a small one in Canberra or something, and then, like I said, like a touring sort of display going around the country. I mean, that would involve a lot of effort, and I don't know if that's something the ACMS might want to consider at some point.
If you were doing it in Canberra, it might be worth working with Questacon, and I think Questacon still has like a travelling science circus thing, I think.
Yeah, they do. Well, they have had,
one of my
Around
high
the
school
schools.
teachers went off to work for them. Best job ever, I must say.
But they're the places that should be doing this. I mean,
Yes.
the Powerhouse Museum in Sydney is ideal, and also Questacon, but they're not prepared to put the money into it.
They
No.
also don't have the specialist, like, it's not like we get hired by Questacon or whoever to run a retro computer exhibit. You need to sort of find the people who have the skills, who can curate the collection, and who have the fancy piece of paper saying that they have those things. It's
I think that's what
able to sell that program.
And that's what worked with the Living Computer Museum in Seattle, but it had a multi-billionaire person funding it who has now died, and now that's in jeopardy.
Yeah.
More than in jeopardy, it's finished.
Oh.
Well, yeah, okay. So it's a shame. I'm not sure what's going to happen with that collection.
We'll probably go to sell them in California on eBay the lot.
Yeah, well, I'll hopefully get an IMSA 8080 if that's the case. They had about 8 of them on display, so I'm not sure how many more they had. Like they had a 4-rotor Turing machine and all sorts of stuff there.
Yeah, yeah. It turns out, I think, who was it? Paul
Alan?
Paul Allen's wife is actually, well, was married to a computer billionaire. It's actually not that into computers.
Yeah. Just the money.
Yeah.
My only recent little story was yesterday. I decided working all day, every day, and then doing homework with the kids and then sleeping, I need to get out on my own. So I did a 700-mile round trip, which was Austin to Dallas and back, and did a little bit of sightseeing. So Daly Plaza and Fort Worth Stockades and things. But as part of that, there was a car boot sale. And most of the people selling, they were the Dallas retro gamer community, and they're selling mostly things that they'd picked up at Computer Reset, that they'd gotten too much of, or stripped boring beige boxes down and things. But I was able to get a bunch of boxed 1990s games that I probably should have bought if I could have afforded at the time. But now I'm proud enough to have actually retrospectively bought the software the games that I had been playing when I was a youngster. So got a bunch of stuff there, and I was able to get a next. What's that, sorry?
What were the titles you got?
It was mostly just things like Doom, Quake, Warcraft 2, Warcraft 3, the original Warcraft, just that sort of stuff. It's like mid-1990s. And I got a Next Turbo Station recently as well, which is running I can't remember. It's basically a RISC chip, but I was able to get that at a reasonable price. But mostly what I collect is acoustic couplers and modems, and been negotiating with someone on eBay who had a IBM acoustic coupler tester, and I was able to get that after several months of browbeating to get to a point where I was comfortable, because I don't like eBay. No, I'm sure none of us like eBay prices. I think things should be about a tenth of what they are. 10% maybe, but
Ian loves the eBay prices.
I bet he does. Yeah.
It's the eBay fees that are the shit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
The good thing
that you managed to go on a 700-mile round trip. I had a 700-meter walk to the shops and back.
and the funny thing is, like, the case counts here are really bad. Like, we're still getting about 5,000 a day in Texas, but it's nothing like Melbourne's lockdown. You can still go mostly about your day-to-day business. We're being very careful, but I was at the point of 6 months of not really going anywhere because my wife's an asthmatic. I thought, you know what, I'm just going to make today about doing something different.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it for me, and really enjoying these sessions. It's encouraging me to get up at 4 a.m. and get my smoker started. So I'm barbecuing meat every time there's one of these sessions.
Oh, very good. Very good.
Yeah, it looks like
That room's a bit hazy.
It looks like it's
Yeah, I mean, inside right now, but I'll go outside and I'll just get the video on, but I'll turn the audio off because it's a little bit breezy.
We've got to hook up the smoker to a Z80 for this to be like proper retro computing stuff.
I was thinking that actually I'd have to do something. I've got a Wi-Fi kit hooked up.
Is there anyone we haven't heard from? I think Pat, we've heard you talk, but we haven't actually heard what you've been doing the last 30 days. What have you been doing?
I mean, really, I haven't. I've really just been all work and no play, really.
But you're at the pub.
Well, it's a hard work in the pub, but no, I'm just I'm acquiring a few items here and there, but I haven't had much time to work on anything, unfortunately. So, yeah, just
there's a good problem to have, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah.
That's something I've acquired recently. I've acquired one of those greasel weasels.
Oh yeah.
If anybody knows what they are.
Grease weasel.
Yeah, grease weasels, not greasel weasels.
Mean greasy greasels.
Yeah, so I've got one of them, and some of the first. Oh, I've got one of them. Ian will know this. I finally bought myself a Paradise Video 8-bit only VGA card, like the one I had at Outlook before they tossed that in the great toss out just before I left. I won't tell you how much I paid for it because I paid stupid amounts of money for it. But yeah.
Well, yeah. Now that I've sort of I've rediscovered, because I've known it from back in the day, but I sort of compartmentalized it in one of the rarely used memory cells in my mind. That XTs do run 16-bit VGA cards with the 16-bit hanging in free space. So every card that I get, I try it in my XT just to make sure it's not, if it's one of those ones that will run in an 8-bit slot. And finding maybe sort of 4 out of 10 of them do actually function in an XT with the 16-bit hanging in free space and work perfectly well on an XT. So you know when I've got them, because I put them on eBay with the great big, this worked in an XT, and they actually sell very quickly. Certain Trident's 8900 series, Trident's not the greatest video card ever invented, but as far as getting a VGA monitor on an XT, they do a pretty competent job.
The Trident 8900 was a very, very popular card.
Oh, it was popular, yeah. It was wasn't the last word in game playing, but
no.
But I mean, it still plays on an 8 megahertz Turbo XT. It plays a pretty good VGA version of Lemmings. I've got to say that.
That's actually pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I want to know if I can get Monkey Island running on one.
Monkey Island on an XT?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should be able to.
Because I obviously have the fully depopulated Nuxed over here, and I feel like it's going to be complete when I can run Monkey Island.
How popular are those new XT things?
I'm going to guess that they're very popular within this limited social circle. Obviously, having like all the guts of the best 1980s technology,
yeah,
with modern black PCB, is a very niche thing to have, especially when emulation is so solid now, and you could do everything that thing can do in bare metal emulation on a Raspberry Pi.
I tell you,
didn't LGR build a Nuxt a few months ago? I think that probably might have helped the popularity a bit.
He did that last year because that was with the version 1 board. Because I remember I was like, oh, that might be really neat, and I couldn't afford the V1 board, but I sort of put myself on the list when the V2 board came out, which was earlier this year. It was sort of my early birthday present.
Oh, cool. So, for those of us who aren't quite that knowledgeable, the TLDR of the difference between a V1 and a V2.
I think it was. I'd have to check off the top of my head. I think it was just like a couple of things were streamlined in a bit.
V2 has a parallel port, and a onboard PS2 mouse port is the big thing.
So do these have onboard video and?
Yeah, they have a TVGA 9000.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, like it's great because you can just stick it in a outside of sound, you can pretty much stick it in a very small form factor case, and you're golden.
Does it have like a OPL3 or an OPL?
No, it's only just the beta on board.
Of all the video card chips they could choose, they had to say,
right, they chose Rolls Royce.
Okay, so here's the thing. The reason they chose that, I think, is because the Sergei Kiselev, I think his name is, had already built an entirely modern 8-bit VGA card around that chip. And it's the same as how there's your floppy controller on here is built in the same way from Sergei Kiselev's board design. So you have these open source things that already exist, and we know they work, and they can just be rolled into an all-in-one board. Like, it's not worth reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
So if we have these things, we know they work.
It's when I think Trident 8900 and Trident 9000, I think plain bread, you know.
Yeah, here's a Trident 8900 right here.
Yeah.
Plain bread.
I got to go soon, but here, I'll just fill you in on the dumbest thing I've done in recent years. And I didn't have the foresight, but geez, it was, I'm kicking myself now. So I was at Rockby in their surplus room out the back where they have all the junk that they can't sell. And in one of the corner was a box that had like 500 PCB slotted, ready to use XT slots.
Oh.
You know, the ones, you plug, the 5 or 8 that you plug in. And they were dirt cheap, but at the time I was just like, oh, no one's ever going to need these. And now, and then sort of I go there weekly, and so the second week they were still there, and then the third week they were gone, like they were all gone. So whoever snapped them up got the lot.
Yeah,
it was like I can understand people doing a clone of a TRS-80 or a PET or whatever, but an XT, it just didn't register in my mind, so I didn't get these things. And now I realise I could probably have sold them at, you know, $10 a set of 5 of them, and all these Nux people, you know, need them for their how many slots do those have?
Yes, I heard.
Yeah. So anyway, every time I go back to Rockby, which I haven't been for ages, I look in their little corners and stuff to see if someone's snuck them.
It's a great room, that room that they've got on the side there. That's the best spot.
Yeah, I know. I sort of walk in there, and every time I go there, I come out with you know, about 50 of these tubes of semiconductors, and I used to spend a lot of time looking at them. Now I was just grabbing them by handfuls. I'll work out what the use for them is.
Yeah, I think my last trip I bought about 80 those 16K RAM that they were selling on sale. So I just said, I'll just take the lot.
Yeah. What was that? The Motorola's or the ITT?
The Motorola's.
Okay.
Yeah.
The 5-volt only ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I know where to go if I need.
Yeah, I've got them all.
I bought some of those when they had them on special, thinking I could go back and get more if I needed them, and then I designed a circuit that used them. Their website to order the rest of them.
They're all gone.
What are you showing us right now, Cameron?
I was just going to mention the talk about museum stuff. This is my solution to no one really wants to go to a museum enough to make it profitable. So I just set them up at schools. So I'll show you a few. And that works really well. So you pick a good spot in a library at a school, set up 5 or 6 machines, and the kids freaking love it. You leave it there for a week, and that worked really well. So I'm going to do that more.
Yeah.
So,
Jason,
have you got a pet?
Jason, who's not with us tonight, does that once a year at O Week at the university that he works at, and it becomes the most interesting part of the O Week there. So,
yeah, well, I mean, you get little kids like so I got an Atari, Vectrex, Amstrad, Amiga, a PET, ThinkPad. What else did I have? That's about it, and an Atari Lynx.
I need some of those systems. Let me know what school you're going to next.
And I just put a bunch of different controllers because kids don't know about like they all play with little shitty analog joysticks on a
Yeah.
PlayStation, right? Like, so they found this really cool, like all the different controllers over the years, just some other stuff, some little informational plaques about like Archimedes. There's an Archimedes. There's a rubber keyed SC3000, by the way. Micro B and a few little bits and bobs. So I'm going to do that more when the lockdown finishes. That was I've done it quite a few public ones, but I think the school one worked really well. It worked really well because I just...
in front of your Intellivision.
What's that?
What's that game in front of the Intellivision?
It's one of those 60 you don't have.
I've got about 30 Intellivision games, so, you know, we might be able to do some swaps. Yeah, so that worked really well. And I left it there for a week because it was in a secure, like in a quiet room of the library, like a separate room of the library. It was my nieces and nephews' school, but nothing got broken. Obviously, you don't put your best stuff there. That's crazy. But the kids freaking loved it, and there's always a couple of kids who like just spend every minute they can in there because like they're the future us, right? Mucking around, like, so I've got like laser discs and just miscellaneous old weird technology, flip phones and whatnots, Walkmans. So yeah, just a really cool little experiment that worked really well.
That's great. That is fantastic. It
There you go.
reminds me.
There's my table of miscellaneous stuff.
Reminds me of that Ace 2K demonstration you and I did, Ian, in the year 2000 when they had that Amiga Expo and we had that big museum set up there.
That was the most popular bit.
It was. No one was there for the Amiga. They wanted to see the SX64 and the pets.
Yeah. That was some day, that one. It was a pity that they that the idea of the day was to relaunch the Amiga, wasn't that the?
Yeah, it was OS 3.5 or OS 3.9 or something.
Yeah, and there was at one point, if this was a success, this would become a yearly thing. But obviously, it was a little bit too little, too late.
Well, I mean, the trouble with museums is, okay, you get a school group in, they just run around, they don't really have time to absorb what's happening, so I think leaving it there for a week was key, partly because I was too lazy to pack it up, but just leaving it there, kids are coming after school and they get used to it, and you pop in every now and then and talk to them, and they get used to it, and it becomes familiar to them, unlike just running around, and they'll just run to the Nintendos, right? Because that's what kids will do. I deliberately left out any newer stuff because you put a Nintendo in, no one wants to play any of the old stuff. But if you just put old stuff, everyone played them and gave them a good chance, and they understood what the point was, my pet doesn't work, so that wasn't working. That was just there because it looks cool. That's my original Amiga 500. I'm never going to clean it ever because that's me. You could clone me from the filth that's on that keyboard. Yeah, so, I mean, I've done other sort of expo-y type things. I'm usually there every PAX as well, so next time we have a physical PAX there, I usually set up 5 or 6 machines at PAX, which is awesome. That's heaps of fun. So it's a good outlet for us collector types to, what did I do? I set up my Amigas, there you go. This is my Amiga set up at the last PAX. Pretty cool. Had all the signatures there. My Amiga 1000, I had a bunch of demos and stuff running on the screen, which is pretty cool. And all my Psygnosis boxed stuff, which is freaking awesome. I love Psygnosis games. The art is amazing. Yeah, so, I mean, I've done... Because, like, museums... Everyone wants to start a museum, but it's practically never really going to happen, I don't think, because it's just, as is found out, it's just a massive undertaking. But temporary setups is what I'm going to concentrate on. Like, see, here's another temporary setup I did at a local hall in my hometown in Tassie.
But I think the difference is, I was just going to say, the difference with what you're doing is that it's hands-on. I mean, most museums... of computers of importance won't let you touch anything. They won't even be on. I mean, they might have, sideshows where you might be able to see something, but the majority of the museum is look but don't touch.
Exactly.
I think that's the difference with what you're doing, is that people actually getting into it, and it can hold people's attention a bit more if people actually.
I'm trying to say about our Bandura get-togethers is that if possible, bring stuff that people can actually
use.
Don't bring your pristine thing that you've got no one to touch, because ideally it's good if we can get people to just play a crappy game of Pac-Man on a or
exactly. I mean, you can't appreciate these things. It's like anything, right? Like you can't appreciate a sport unless you at least try and kick the ball. You know, like you can't appreciate music unless you really try and pick up a guitar and you go, oh, wow, it's actually way hard.
I completely and totally agree.
So,
well,
yeah.
Was someone going to say something? Nope. I'm going to wind this thing up because it's now 9:30 p.m. So, any final thoughts before we go?
I've got a question.
Sure.
Bit savers, what's the deal with that? It seems to be offline all the time. Have I missed something? The website.
Turn your microphone on.
Yeah, hang on. Yeah, it was a mirror. There's actually a mirror, not just of Bit Savers, but of a whole bunch of other retro type websites. It's a Russian site. I believe it's mirror.pdp-11.ru. I'll type it into the chat box. It's really good, even though it's Russian.
So what the original Bit Savers site seems to be down, and I've seen others like Trailing Edge and some other ones, but I was just curious to know what had happened.
But their main site has actually changed. The original site is no longer in existence. It's the Trailing Edge is their home now.
Right, okay.
Not a proxy, that's their home.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll have a look at the, I've been to that PDP-11 one before, but I'll have a look and bookmark that. Thank you.
Yeah, I tend to use it. That's my usual go-to because you can find some really obscure stuff, and because it seems to suck down absolutely everything that's out there, it's a really good aggregator. So that's where I tend to go to. I mean, ideally, I'd prefer to go to something that's not that I'm saying Russian stuff's dodgy, because it's not intrinsically dodgy, but it'd be great to go to the original site rather than a mirror wherever possible.
Oh, that one's not working. This is not dodgy. This is my original first Russian digital watch.
Oh, nice.
That's not coming up. That it's mirror. It's just
mirrors.pdp-11.ru. It's really good, and the search function works great.
Yeah, no, it's not working for me.
Dodgy Russian stuff. I have dodgy Russian stuff.
No mirror, but the pdp-11.ru is working.
Yeah, that's the one I use. Yeah, mirror.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah.
The mirror host name wasn't working. That's all.
Yeah, I'm at a typo.
Okay, cool. Okay, no worries.
Speaking of mirrors, I'm running my own little personal private mirror of the Asimov FTP. So if anybody would like a what I'm going to call a sneaker netted copy, feel free to shoot me a message, and I will make sure that you get a copy. But at current standings, it's about 1/4 of a terabyte.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. We will meet again on the second Sunday of next month. I will put the note up. I will turn this into a video, and that's about it. I'm hitting stop on the recording now.